Yeah.
Perfect.
Hello and welcome to the Virtual Business Owners Network on Friday, the 27th of June. I'm delighted to have Chris Wheeler, who's going to demystify the whole area of hashtags, not just a symbol, how hashtags help business in 2025. So Chris, take it away, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So a few people have asked me in vBON about hashtags, and there are a lot of people not really sure what a hashtag is, how to use it, where to use it, how often to use it. So we're going to try and peel the layers back of that particular onion and start with who I am. So I'm Chris. I've been helping businesses grow online since 1995. My background in social media, I started that in actually, I worked for a company called International Computers in Stevenage in Hertfordshire, and was involved in communication and messaging for what were bulletin boards in those days, long before the internet. So we're going back to 1989. And during this time, I've seen a lot of change. One truth that overrides absolutely everything is that the more visible you are, the more opportunity you have to succeed. So hashtags are part of the equation when they're used well, of course. So what a hashtag isn't. It's not a breakfast food from America, nor is it something hanging on clothes. What it is a clickable word or phrase that groups posts into discoverable topics. So a post is a piece of content that sits on the internet, whether on social media or on your own blog, on your website. And the way you should think of it is like this. So it's a way to connect your content to people who care and who matter. It's a signpost to something else. It can be used as a search tool to find subjects of interest and therefore share subjects of interest. And it's also a label that highlights your particular area of expertise in relation to the content that you're actually writing. So why do hashtags matter in 2025? Well, simply they help people find your posts. They make you more discoverable beyond just your followers, so you can increase your reach much, much further than your followers. They enable you to strengthen your position by actually driving hashtags. One thing in my agency that I had in the UK was we created our own hashtags and made those viral across all different aspects of online marketing. And so they actually became into the mainstream. So at the time when I was on Twitter, for example, I had just over 300,000 followers on Twitter. And we would create a single hashtag every week that was unique, and then put that out across all the other platforms that we were on. And this helped us to connect to like-minded audiences. And obviously it made us leaders and not followers. So I've created here 5 golden rules. And actually, if I'd have had the time, I would have found 20 for you. But what I've tried to do is prioritize these. So what you need to do is you need to focus on the discovery and not the distraction. The distraction is far too many. Yeah, so you're actually diluting your activity. The relevance of the hashtag to what you're writing about is actually more important and better than it being a trend. So what I mean by that is a lot of people go wrong in digital marketing, especially where they create something. The start point is typically the content that they are creating, but ultimately they're going to need to create a title and a description for that particular piece somewhere, whether on LinkedIn or for search engine optimization purposes or whatever. And what they tend to forget is that if you have an article, your title and your description and indeed your hashtag should include this information. So what you write in your content should be replicated in title, meta, and hashtag. And therefore, there's a kind of a synergy between all the elements. So you tailor that to each platform's culture. So different platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, they all have different ways of operating and different levels of post types and different lengths of post types, and also where you can actually place a hashtag that makes sense. As I've mentioned already, less is more. So 3 to 7 is ideal, and each platform has its own unique criteria for hashtags. One thing you'll also find, you've heard this wonderful word I've spoken about before called algorithm. Algorithm is simply the maths that the engine of the platform uses to calculate your suitability for being able to be seen in a more prominent position, especially with LinkedIn, which is the business network and business platform. Sometimes LinkedIn will tell you don't use hashtags, and they try to put that out as a mantra. And in other times they say yes, you must. So my way of working for these last 30 years online has always been actually what works, keep it working, and don't always listen to engines or platforms. As long as what you're doing is getting you your result, then stick to what you know and stick to what's working. Having said that, it's always good to test, rinse, and repeat. So we use always a method of A/B testing, whereby we'll put out something, even a hashtag, and we'll test whether it gets the kind of reach that we expect it to get. And if it doesn't, then we'll reevaluate it and perhaps do the same post again and use different hashtags until we see an optimum. So where and how to use hashtags by platform. So the platforms that I've covered here, you'll all be familiar with. So we've got Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and X, which was previously Twitter. The quantity of the hashtags, as I said previously, is very, very different per platform. And again, based on the fact that less is more. And what's really interesting is where you actually place your hashtag inside the particular post that you're creating or not. Because, for example, in Facebook, not only with hashtags, but also with links to external websites, the first comment field is the place that you put that information. You do not put it in the post itself. That will dilute the algorithm and dilute your reach. So it's very critical to put the hashtags and, in fact, external URLs into the right place on the right platform. So how to find hashtags that work? Well, you can use platform search suggestions. And what I mean by that is at the top of the banner, let's say, for example, on LinkedIn, you will see basically there is a search box, and you can put a hashtag into that search box, and it will come up with the start of a search criteria. So it will give you examples of what hashtags are being used. You can look at your audience's posts. So if you've defined your audience and you know the type of people that you want to deal with, if you're on a platform and you share it with them, then you can look at their posts. Even if you're not with them, you can look at their posts and you can find out what type of language they're using and also what hashtags they use. And it would seem to suggest that you're going to kind of become a community based on that criteria. You can track your performance and adjust accordingly. So if you use Google Analytics, there are metrics and data inside there that show you your reach with social media, which is obviously encompassed with your hashtag. You can combine broad and niche tags. So for example, you could have digital marketing agency Dublin, or you could have Let's Rock Dublin. Yeah, and again, you can drive your own broad ones, or you can create specific ones. And as I said, you become then a leader and not a follower, and that's the best place to be online. And ultimately, there are tools out there like Flick and RightTag that will do this job for you. So I've given you a couple of website addresses there. These are particularly useful if you're a beginner and you want to get instant suggestions, and these interrogate the different platforms, and they will tell you based on the post that you create what the hashtags are that make sense. And you can see one is more generic with RightTag, and Flick Social is geared specifically towards Instagram. And there are hundreds of these, but these two we found when we're doing social media management, these ones are the two that are really the best on a global scale. So what I've tried to do is give you a before and after. So before we decided to streamline, the post read, check out our new service, hashtag business, hashtag success, hashtag motivation, hashtag goals, hashtag startup, hashtag growth, blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, when we've got something that actually makes sense, we're launching something built to help small business owners grow. 3 hashtags, lead gen tips, let's rock, and business support. And obviously you can see the middle one is all about driving our brand. So you can drive your brand with a hashtag. So I've tried to give you some common mistakes versus some really smart moves. So don't use 20+ random tags. Makes absolutely no sense. Use between 3 and 7, depending on the platform, as I've already told you. And again, make those relevant to the content that you've created. Copy competitors blindly makes no sense at all. It's basically plagiarism. Research your own audience. By all means, you always keep an eye on your competition, but don't just blindly copy them. Don't tag heavily in main Facebook posts. It makes no sense. And again, it's not going to deliver anything for you. You're just going to spend time adding hashtag after hashtag for no good reason at all. Instead, move hashtags to the first comment and limit them to 3. And don't use irrelevant trending tags. Don't follow tags that mean nothing to you. So if you're writing about motorbikes, it's pointless having a hashtag that's all about cars. Yeah, it makes no sense at all. So stick to your niche vehemently and don't waver from that, despite what so-called experts will tell you. And so some quick wrap-up takeaways. Hashtags are searchable, they're shareable, and they're still ultimately very powerful. Again, you will be told from time to time, hashtags don't make any sense, or we're not using them on our platform, but that just typically is a fad, and I wouldn't follow fads. Use them to connect, not just to promote. So using search systems, find other people that are using hashtags that are in your niche. Focus on the people, not the algorithm. And actually that's the same throughout the whole social media journey. Yeah, when you're creating something, and in fact for your web pages as well, think about who you're writing for, and not how to beat the algorithm, because you never will beat the algorithm, because nobody actually publishes what the algorithm is. So you're starting off from a bad place in any case. Build sets that reflect your brand and community. As I said, combine different aspects to bring together both your brand and your community, link the two together, and kind of employ some joined up thinking. So if you're going to use it on one medium, use it on another medium, create it as a story set across different platforms, and see what performs best with the data and the analytics. And with the right approach, hashtags will help the right people to find you. And that is my presentation. It's very quick this morning, but I only had a little bit of notice to do it.